morning, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you for showing up. Today we have a little bit of misty morning for tea time. Just misty morning. Really, really good stuff. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you coming. It is the last day of November. What does that mean? That means today is the last day for you to enter to win this camera bag. Let me grab it. The thinkTANK Urban Access 10. Urban Access 10. I have two of these. This one is brand new. I'm giving it away to one of you, lucky winners. The next video I do, I will be picking that winner. Now, if you want to enter, I'm going to probably put a link somewhere right around there. Go check it out. That's all you have to do is subscribe to the channel. And in this video, about 4, 5, 6 videos ago, just put a comment, what you hate about the show, what you like about the show, and that is it. And you will be registered to win. So, if you haven't downloaded my ebook, go over to JCristina.com/ebook. Once again, JCristina.com/ebook. 10 tips at making tack sharp images. Something there for everyone. Amateur, pro-am, as well as professionals. Go pick that up. That's the end of my shameless plugs for this morning. Today we're going to get into the absolute tippy top, the best for 2020 Enthusiast full-frame mirrorless camera. Now, a lot of you guys have been asking me about this, and very interestingly, DP Review just did a review on a bunch of different cameras. I wrote them all down, and what I did is I gave you some details based on the #1 pick, just so you know why they picked it. And I also gave you my thoughts on the camera and the other cameras and why I think they were actually right in choosing this camera. Now, what DP Review did is they compared the Canon EOS R6, the Nikon Z6 II, and the Panasonic S5, and finally, the Sony A7 III. Now, you guys know that the Sony A7 III, I've been recommending to most photographers for over 2 years now, or a year and a quarter, or whatever it is, since it came out, guys. Since it came out, I've been recommending that camera. Why? Because I thought that it was a really good value. Even though I'm a Canon shooter, you know I'm unbiased, I really can care less. If I see something that makes sense for you guys, I'm going to tell you what it is. All right. I don't have a horse in the race. Okay. That's why a lot of you guys come to this channel. Anyway, so they stuck that in there, even though it was a couple of years old now and over a year older than the rest of them. But still, they wanted to put it in there because it was a really good mirrorless full frame camera, #1, with 2 slots and yada, yada, yada. So I'm glad that they did, because a lot of people ask me, is that still the best camera for me to buy right now? And I've been on the fence going back and forth with the R5, the R6 when that came out, just because they did a really good job. Besides, it's overheating and melting into the earth, into a pile of some type of magma. All right. A lot of that has been fixed, but remember, not all of it, because you can only fix so much in firmware. You need to actually change the hardware to address some of those heating issues. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go through some of these reasons why they picked who they picked. And just to start out with, so if you just want to know the answer, I'm going to tell you right away. The answer between those 4, the #1, the winner, we'll start in reverse, I guess. The winner is the EOS R6. So, some of you guys are going to agree, some of you are not going to agree, but that's okay. In the comment area below, I want you to put your thoughts and why you think maybe one of the other cameras should have been that #1 pick for DP Review. Anyway, so going from the top here, as far as the specs go, we have on that EOS R6, we have a 20 megapixel full frame CMOS sensor. It has sensor-based image stabilization, which is IBIS. It has a 3.69 million dot EVF, that is a 0.75 magnification, a 3-inch variable touch screen. Now that's basically your standard that you see in all of the latest Canon cameras, which is that fully articulating back panel. That means that if you're a vlogger or if you want your talent to be able to see themselves, they can, because that screen doesn't just flip up. It actually flips to the side and then forward. All right. So that it does have, of course, and that screen has 1.62 million dots of resolution. So the screen is pretty good. Is it the best? No, but it's pretty damn good. Next is 12 frames per second or 20 frames per second. This depends if you're shooting with an electronic shutter or a mechanical shutter. Mechanical will get you 12 frames per second, whereas electronic will give you 20 frames per second. That is a lot of frames per second. Next is the ISO. ISO is fantastic on this camera. It goes from 100 ISO up to 102,400. That's expandable up to 208,400. Really great in low light. Autofocus points is 6,072. It has dual pixel autofocus. Now, dual pixel AF is something that Canon is known for. That's why they track eyes so well. That's why I can't get this camera even to lose my eyes, even on a camera. This is an 80D that's what now, like 4 years old or more. And it just locks on. That's just it. All right. It's very hard to be able to break it and have it focus something on the back. It never does, and it never pulsates either. So dual pixel AF they have in here, and they don't have it shut off in 4K, thank God. It does have, of course, face tracking as well as eye AF, which this camera does not. So it tracks my face, but not the eyes. This, of course, does have eye tracking like most of the cameras do today. Has built-in Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, dual SD card slots. That is fantastic. A lot of people are looking for dual card slots that are professionals or even pro-ams because we want redundancy, right, guys? We don't want a failure and now all of a sudden we lost an entire shoot. Next, we have 4K. It does shoot 4K. It does it up to 60 frames per second, which is fantastic. And they don't skimp by not giving you 24 frames per second. Thank God. So you have 24, 25, 30, as well as 60 frames per second. Now, if you want to get slow-mo, you can do that in full HD, which would be your 1080p, which is nice. That's 120 frames per second or 100 frames per second, depends on what you're shooting. Now, there's some other additional important specs that I want to tell you because these kind of set it apart a little bit. They're really, really good stuff. Now, those dual card slots, a lot of the companies, what they'll do is they'll put a card slot in that might be a UHS 1 and then the other one is UHS 2, or they'll just vary it up. Canon didn't do that. On this camera, you're going to get two UHS 2 card slots. That's fantastic. For me, it just simply makes sense. All right. Also, it does have that 2.4 gigahertz that's built in that I was telling you about with Wi-Fi, and it will utilize their image.canon application, which is kind of cool. I personally do not like or believe in uploading any of your pictures into the cloud as you're taking them, because I don't trust Canon as far as I can throw them, nor any other company with a shoot that I'm doing. All right. If you have any kind of problem, you want to make sure that you have all those pictures with you at all times, not in the cloud. We know Canon has lost people's pictures before, and they're going to do it again, so don't do it. If you want it as like a redundancy of redundancy of redundancy, go ahead and do that. But in my personal opinion, shoot on the two cards, and then right there on the spot, take those cards out and throw them onto like an external drive of some kind or onto your computer or whatever. Just don't upload them into the cloud. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. All right. Also, what they did is they've given a lot of this enhanced operational controls on the back. So you have that rear dial as well as your multi-dial or multi-controller that works really well. Now, Canon menus have always been, in my personal opinion, obviously I'm a Canon shooter, the best on the market, period. Yes, you have to go a little deep into them to be able to get to everything, but I do think that they're the most understandable and easy to use, unlike Sony, in my personal opinion. But remember, if you are a Sony shooter, you might be used to their menus, so that's a little bit subjective here or there. Also, weather. The weather seal is drip proof, dust seal proof, whatever you want to call it, on par with the 6D. Now, the R5 is on par with the 5D. So let's just say it has a little bit less when it comes to the weather sealing, as you're going to see with an R5, but it's still pretty good. So these are kind of the specs when it comes to the R6 and why DP Review have selected them. Now, I've added some of the things in here that I think that are very important. Number one, the sensor that they're using, guys, is the same sensor that you see in the 1DX Mark III. This is an expensive thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars professional camera. All right, it's a 20.1 megapixel sensor, and it also has the Digix X image processor built into it. So that's one of the reasons why we're seeing this camera be able to shoot ISO 100 all the way up to 102,000, expandable up to 200,000. Now we know that's a bunch of crap anyways, okay? But seeing that it can expand up that high, that is one of the reasons why we're seeing clean video and clean photo at like 12,800 with no problem. That is really nice. I personally wouldn't push anything that high, no matter what it says, because I am not a noise guy. All right, noise, digital noise is not film noise, let's call it, or grain. Okay, I still don't think that it looks as good. Fuji gets it a little bit better, but I still do not like digital noise. That's just my personal opinion. Also, the 4K, like I was telling you, does go up to 60p, which is really nice, whereas your 1080 goes all the way up to 120p. A lot of people like that because they want to be able to shoot slow motion. They can do so by backing it off just a little bit to 1080, but being able to get 60p in a 4K video is really, really great. There's a lot of us that shoot videos like this one right here at 60p. Why? I don't know. Maybe I'll back it down to 24, see what it looks like, and then you tell me if you like it. I don't know, save me some space. So, but I always do 60p because I just come from gaming and this type of thing, and 60p is always the thing. It looks very real. My movements look real in comparison to a little bit of a blur that happens when you're at 24p. Or that, let's call it cinematic view or cinematic look. Also, internally, this is really incredible. 10-bit 422 in this camera. That is Canon log. You can do H.265 as well as their HDR PQ in 265. You know, whenever you're dealing with internal 422 10-bit, that's amazing. That is really, really amazing, whereas a lot of the cameras don't do that. They'll give you 420, so you have a lot less color, a lot less bit, so that later on, it's very hard. For example, if you're going to do green screen, you don't want 420, you want 422. There's just more data there, right? It's easier to pull someone off the background. And also that EVF. This EVF is really exceptional. I didn't think Canon was going to be able to do it. Now, of course, the EVF in the R5 is slightly better with a couple extra million dots, let's say. But this EVF has 3.69 million dots, which is amazing. But what's even better is they do have it running at 120 frames per second. That's one of the things I've always hated about EVFs. The refresh rate is just simply not fast enough, and your eyeball can actually see it's flickering here and there, and I just don't like it. As we're getting faster and faster and faster with the refresh rate on these EVFs, it just simply helps out. And some of these cameras, like we were talking about before, the Nikon, the Panasonic, and the Sony, some of them don't go up to that 120 frames per second. So it just doesn't look kind of as nice, all right? Now, I guess to sum it all up, the way they rank these, and I want to know your thoughts on the way you would rank them. They rank them as Sony coming in last. Now that's the A7 Mark III. I love the camera. I think it's absolutely exceptional, but there is some deficiencies in it in comparison to the number one pick, which would be the Canon R6. Now in third position, they gave it to the Z6 Mark II from Nikon. And in the second position, they gave it to the S5. Now, the way I look at this is the S5 is great for video, but if you want the camera for photo, I would say Nikon pulls in second. The reason being is I absolutely hate Panasonic's video. Even though it looks absolutely exceptional, I need autofocus. And until Panasonic just gets rid of their contrast detect and brings in a hybrid system that does contrast detect as well as your phase detection and really get autofocus where it should be in 2020, 2021 coming up in a few days, right? They're just still going to be behind the 8 ball. But in my opinion, Panasonic is doing an exceptional job, all right? I've said it before. I thought that Panasonic should have went from micro four thirds into full frame. They said it was absolutely a no-go. We're not going to do it because professionals only need micro four thirds. Well, 2 years after I was telling them that, they all of a sudden did it with the S line, right? S1, S1H, on and on and on. Now the S5. So full frame is there, and thank God that they did it. But they're putting a lot of R&D into it, which is exceptional, guys, exceptional. And I'm so glad to see it because there's a lot of guys that I used to shoot with that shoot video with a GH4, a GH5, a GH5S, and they're like, this crap just, God, this autofocus is just shit. Okay, we have to manually focus everything. It's not great in low light, blah, blah, blah. Well, the focus is better, but it's still not great. And a lot of these video shooters that were doing advertising spots that I knew moved into Canon, right? They picked up a C100 because all they needed was 1080p. They don't need 4K. That's problematic for Panasonic, and they're still not fixing it as of today. They need to. Panasonic, okay? Guys over there. Just like I've told you in the past where you need to go from micro four thirds to full frame, you need to go from contrast detect to a hybrid which does contrast as well as phase. You're falling behind. But if you do that, everything else is so good in this camera. The S5 is an amazing unit. Its video is beautiful. Its color science is really good. I would say it's pretty close to being on par with Canon. That's my personal opinion. A lot of stuff that they do is very video-centric, and they really get it right. And that's because they made all the GH line for so long, and they did them so well. All right? Just fix the damn autofocus. Anyways, the number one pick, like I said from the very beginning, is the Canon EOS R6. Now, that is the first place winner for the very best enthusiast mirrorless full frame camera as of 2020. We are now ending it. We're now almost in December. So that's going to be it. That is the best. I didn't think that that was going to be the case 2 years ago when Canon started out with the R, the RP, and I'm like, oh my God, they're neutering the crap out of this thing. You know, they're doing their normal, just the Canon thing, the Canon way. All right. And then the R5 came out, and I'm like, yeah, that's going to be like an equivalent to a 5D, and it was. Then the R6, 6D, and so on and so forth. And they're really knocking it out the park. Bear in mind, price. The price for that camera is more expensive than the other three. So we always have to go round robin back to value, okay? But even though the price is higher on the Canon EOS R6, I still believe that it is probably the best out of the four. The Nikon Z6 Mark II, the S5, as well as the Sony A7 III. So, positions have changed, and going forward, I'm going to continue to recommend the Canon EOS R6 to the people that are coming on board, let's say, in the mirrorless space that want something that's an enthusiast type of camera, that's borderline professional, that can be used professionally, as I call them, the pro-ams out there, right? I'm going to start recommending this camera. So anyways, guys, I want to know, like I said, I want to know your thoughts. What do you think? Should this order be changed in any way? Should it not? Do you think that it's correct? What specs do you think that we need to know here, that everyone in the community needs to know, that you know, that you want to put into those comment area down below so that they can have this knowledge when they're making their decision? A lot of it always comes back to lenses. And if you have a camera already that has lenses for a specific platform, it's kind of a no-brainer to stick with that platform unless the other brand or the other manufacturer gives you something that your current camera doesn't give you. Perfect example is with my friends that were shooting those ad spots that went from the GH4, GH5, GH5S. They were thinking they were going to go with an S line. They didn't. They went with the C100, C200 from Canon cinema camera. Why did they do that? Because that S line didn't give them what they needed, and that is full-time autofocus that works, okay? Your dual pixel, as we see in the Canon cameras. Something that does phase detection as well as contrast detection. Anyways, once again, guys, go sign up for this bag. It is going to be given out in the next video. It is a cool bag. Like I said, I use this all the time. It is absolutely wonderful. thinkTANK, they make a fantastic bag. Really durable. Also, don't forget, once again, to download that ebook over at JCristina.com/ebook and visit us over at our creative Discord server. So we're done talking down here in the comment area. Go over to community.jcristina.com. Once again, community.jcristina.com. What I'm going to also do is I'm going to extend that Black Friday deal that we had going on into now Cyber Monday. So the deal is going to keep going on. If you use YT30 at checkout over at jcristina.com, you're going to get 30% off everything that's in your shopping cart. Not one thing. Once again, jcristina.com, use YT30 at checkout. If you like the video even a little bit, throw it a big thumbs up. That will help out immensely. And please subscribe to the channel. If you like some of these videos, there's like 400 now. I don't know. There's a lot. If you like it, please. There's going to be a lot more coming. A new year. There's some new gear coming that I'm going to be showing you. There's a couple of things in front of me that you guys can't see right now that I'm going to be reviewing that just came in. There's a lot of stuff that's going on with the channel. Subscribe and also click this little notification button here. So when I go live or if I put out a new video, you'll be notified of it immediately. And finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools that I've invented for you and me over the years, and hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up and support me and my family. Once again, YT30 and get 30% off at checkout. That's it, guys. I'm out of here for yet another vlog. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay healthy and stay safe.